And there it is.
Exit the vehicle now.
No. Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah. So yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason why you're popping the door open like that?
I don't have a window that works. Is there a reason that you're pulling me over?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a reason why I'm pulling you over. For one thing, inclement weather, you don't have your lights on. Two things, you're not wearing your seatbelt.
It's daylight. I don't need the lights, and it's not weather. It's not rain.
So already from there, I think the officer clearly here has probable cause to stop this gentleman, Mr. McNeil, for two reasons. Firstly, stating that he doesn't have a seatbelt on, and possibly he took it off right when this video began and he opened the door, and also for headlights, not having his headlights on supposedly during this inclement weather. It's difficult to tell here though if it actually was raining or not, because you can't see in the video if the rain is falling. There could be some drops on the window or something like that, but it's hard to tell. For Florida law under 316.217 states that any vehicle that's operated has to have their headlights on, specifically during any rain, smoke, or fog. So if it was raining, then the officer definitely had reason to stop Mr. McNeil for that reason and to investigate anything that could be going on from there at that point. Additionally, if he wasn't wearing his seatbelt, that is also a reason to initiate the stop. But let's continue watching the video from here.
Pulling you over. Give me your driver's license, registration, proof of insurance.
No, call your supervisor. Why?
Excuse me?
Call your supervisor. Why did you pull me over?
77, 35. I'm proper driver. I've already told you.
Why did you pull me over?
Step out of the vehicle.
No.
Step out of the vehicle. 25 for 94. The driver just slammed the door and locked it.
Call your supervisor.
Yep.
Okay, so let's stop it there as well. So over here, he asked the officer to call his supervisor when the officer asked him to exit the vehicle. It's definitely within your right to ask for a supervisor to be present at a scene to sort of facilitate the traffic stop. Every police department can be a little different, but usually, requesting a supervisor is not, something out of the ordinary or that would, cause any violence to be sort of enacted upon you by a police officer. So this officer then tells the gentleman to exit his vehicle, and police definitely do have the authority to request you to exit your vehicle for many different reasons. It could be for police safety and in order to ensure that you don't have anything dangerous on you. There are a lot of cases that are kind of already set this precedent that exiting your vehicle even before you're charged with a crime or anything like that is a lawful order that they can give. But he decides not to refuse. He refuses to exit his car, decides to stay inside instead. And he already stated, I believe, that his windows don't work, so that's why he had to open the door in order to speak to the officer. And so he closes the door. Let's continue from there.
If anybody responding, come in from Commonwealth, block the vehicle, please. Keep your hands
So
where
he's
I
still
can see
asking
him,
for the
sir.
supervisor, asking why he's
My
pulling
camera's
him
on
over.
too. I've already told you. Okay. Okay. Right now you're under arrest for resisting. You understand? You're under arrest for resisting.
The officer just said he's under arrest for resisting arrest. The officer already did state that he's placing him under arrest for not following his orders. And under Florida law, there is a way to essentially be resist arrest even without actually doing anything. Florida has a specific statute for resisting arrest without violence, which states that whoever shall resist, obstruct, or oppose any officer while offering or doing violence to the person of the officer shall be guilty of a misdemeanor of the first degree. So essentially that's probably what fits best for this situation here. He refused to comply with those orders and stayed in his car, but he didn't actually commit any kind of violence. So that would be that type of resisting arrest that the officer is alluding to here.
Resisting, the longer you take us on, the worse it's going to be. Keep your hands where I can see them, sir. Okay.
So that was actually something interesting here that someone else pointed out. I saw in some comments. You see the backup just come and go in front of the vehicle here, but you notice that the backup car doesn't have their headlights on. So if this was a situation where he was supposed to have his headlights on because of the rainy conditions, then technically this backup officer is also violating the law by driving around without their headlights on. So that's kind of just a funny anecdote to note that they're kind of breaking the very laws that they were trying to enforce in the first place here.
Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting.
Can you unlock the door and step out? I will. Can you step out? You're being done. If there's a traffic stop being conducted, you're required to comply.
Vehicle's locked in.
Yes.
He's locked it up. Putting the window down.
Correct.
I tried to talk to
Huh? Okay. So what did he ask for when he I guess, talked to you?
When he pulled me over, he walked up, opened my door, my window don't work, right? And then I said, so what I did wrong?
Yeah.
He said, well, for one, your headlights are off under this weather. I'm like, there's multiple people headlights off.
Okay, that's so
and then there's no rain.
It doesn't matter. You're still required to have headlights on.
Okay, let's actually stop it here just because I want to say something that's that when you face encounters with the police like this, arguing back and forth rarely helps you in your situation, even when you are right. And our legal system is set up that the police will have lots of reasons to bring you in on something, and in the field, you will have very few things that can actually get you out of it. And honestly, when you're in that situation, all you want to do is just be free of that and go about your business and not to go to the station or anything like that. But unfortunately, that's not the time to have that fight. The time to have that fight is when you have your attorney with you who knows the law, when the prosecutors who actually bring formal charges are there and have reviewed the evidence, reviewed the police files. Then you can negotiate with them and actually figure something out and come to an amicable resolution. But right here in the field, everyone's tensions are high. The police officers are riled up. You're riled up and you're defensive. And so in that moment, it's one of the worst times actually to come combative and fight with the police and argue back and forth, because they're not going to stand down. They're not just going to be like, oh, I guess you're right, you can go on your way. They're going to keep pushing and pushing and finding more and more things to hold against you. And obviously you're going to try and defend yourself because you don't think you've done anything wrong, but you're in this situation still. So even though you'll be caught in that when you're in a traffic stop, wait until everything is settled, remain calm, and just wait for your attorney to be there with you so that you can explain all of this to a judge and likely get the charges significantly reduced or dropped completely. And if necessary, some kind of misconduct occurred, then you have even more of a basis to file a civil lawsuit for some monetary damages that you could potentially receive as well. But let's continue on from this point here.
Pull that law up?
Huh?
Can you pull that law up?
Yeah, when you step out of the car, I will.
Hey.
Can you call your supervisor?
Please I'll ask
Can you call your
for them to call the
supervisor?
supervisor. And there it is.
Exit the
It breaks
vehicle
the
now.
window. Oh wow, that's crazy. Yeah. So yeah, that's insane that he would break the window, and someone who is clearly defenseless, not being physically violent or threatening in any way, and he would just physically assault him. like that. There's no reasoning or justification for those kinds of actions, police officer or not. So that is, yeah, that's just absolutely unacceptable that something like that was happening to this man here.
Put my hands behind my back. I was home. Ain't no talking now, man. Ain't no talking. I was doing, bro. What's going on, man?
You're under arrest. That's what's going on.
No. Yes, bro. Yes. That's a lawful reason, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it off of you, bro.
Yeah, and see, once they've gotten the first hit of adrenaline of violence, it doesn't end, unfortunately. And now you can see they're clearly being, you know, I would say excessively violent with him here, dragging him around. He's clearly just like, okay, you know, I've submitted to you. I'm not resisting. I'm not, you know, shifting my weight or anything. He's just being there, and they're, you know, throwing him to the ground, all kinds of things. And I believe he actually suffered some multiple injuries from this, concussion, and I think a chipped tooth and other things as well. Unfortunately, that, you know, resulted from, and that is, you know, completely unnecessary that any of that had to happen at all.
Thank you.
I know. You should put you over on.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You good?
Yeah, you or him? Okay.
All right, I'm gonna stop it there. I think we've seen enough of the video here. The rest of it is just them arresting him. There's not as much to tell here, but obviously I'm just saying again, don't fight the police, because oftentimes you're not going to win. They'll have more manpower, more force, and especially in the field, they might have potentially more reasoning to be able to be violent with you. And even if they don't, at the end of the day, you end up suffering for it, for whatever wrongdoing they do. So don't even try to fight it. Just follow whatever orders they give you, and have your fight in court, where you can have all your evidence laid out and have a judge who can be neutral to actually give you the justice that you deserve. So what's interesting about this case, obviously, is that the sheriff's office, I believe, put one of the officers on administrative leave without pay. So the sheriff's office has actually said that they have found no misconduct with the officers, and the state prosecutor reviewed it and decided not to charge them with assaults, which is really surprising to me, because I think it's very clear here what kind of happened. But, you know, politics, police officers work with prosecutors, and they may not have wanted to push this issue further. But they've already decided not to charge this guy. And unfortunately, actually, Mr. McNeil himself was charged with some of those things that were already stated: resisting arrest, driving without his seatbelt on, and the headlights. They also found that he had a suspended license. So that one's really on him, that he was driving in that state. So a lot of things, unfortunately, went against him. And to my knowledge, he ended up having to plead guilty, served a couple days in jail as well for that, which may also definitely impact any future civil litigation he has against the state, because now he's already admitted fault to some part of this altercation here with his guilty plea. Of course, the more arguments you can make, and any civil attorney that you have, if this ends up becoming yourself, can still make arguments in regards to whatever guilty plea that you gave. But it doesn't bode well for him if he's already admitted guilt in one type of court to some of the actions over here. But what's actually very interesting as well is that another state prosecutor, a former state prosecutor from this very same jurisdiction in Jacksonville, reviewed the footage as well and came to the conclusion that we all have come to, that this was an egregious use of force, completely unlawful, and just abhorrent behavior that we don't want to see in our officers, because when we encounter officers, we want to feel safe with them and know that they're there for our benefit, not that they're gonna do all this stuff and then eventually end up punching you unwarrantedly. So that was really unfortunate that it came to that conclusion, and here we are now that the video is going viral and everyone's seeing it, and then it's again painting a bad light on officers, specifically in this place here, but all officers will be affected by seeing these kind of videos and people experiencing these kind of interactions as well. So I was able to find the actual police report written by this officer, so I'm going to read it here, and I think I'll try and show it as well, just so that we can actually see what was actually being written and reported by the officers. Normally we don't see this kind of stuff, but it is really interesting just to be able to see exactly what the officers were reporting. So it states here, initiated a traffic stop on the suspect vehicle, at which time it came to a stop near the intersection of West Palm Avenue. I will skip some of those parts. The suspect refused to comply and shut the driver's door and locked it. I gave numerous orders to the suspect to provide his identification, which he refused. Due to the suspect's actions, I requested assistance via portable radio. Several officers responded to the scene to assist. I advised the suspect that he was being placed under arrest for resisting officer without violence. That was the charge we already spoke about. The suspect still refused to exit the vehicle. I gave the suspect several warnings. I was going to break the window and remove him from the vehicle if he did not comply with lawful commands. He didn't tell him that he was also going to punch him in the face, though. Suspect continued to refuse to comply, at which time I broke the driver's window, opened the driver's door. I, along with other officers on scene, removed the suspect from the vehicle. Obviously, what we all saw wasn't exactly what was there. He didn't talk about how he punched him for no reason. There was no reason, even if you're removing him from the vehicle, there's no reason to punch him in the face as well. That was completely unnecessary. And that's also missing from the report completely as well. And also, interestingly here, they talk about that the suspect was supposedly attempting to reach for a large knife on the floorboard, and it's only really here from the officers that we're getting that kind of information. There's nothing to suggest from the video that Mr. McNeil was attempting to reach the floorboards. Actually, if you see the video, as we just played it, his hands are up the entire time, showing that he's kind of in a defensive position. I'm not trying to do anything, and there's clearly no way that he could reach something on the floorboard. I don't know if you've been driving and dropped something on the floorboard, but it's extremely difficult to reach it from the driver's seat. So there's no way, even if there was a knife there, and actually I think they did recover a knife, there's no way that he could have reached it and put the officers in any kind of harm's way with that knife. So that's just completely kind of bogus thing to throw in there to try and justify the force that they used here as well. And then they say the rest of it there. But I think that the entire thing to take from this is, unfortunately, these kinds of interactions still occur with the police. This happened back in February of this year, but it's coming up now. But every day people are interacting with officers and dealing with these kinds of violent situations, unfortunately. And it's just have to know exactly what to do and what your rights are. And even when you know those things, you have to know that it's not the time in the field to be fighting with officers. Sometimes you just got to wait until everything is settled, and then you can really bring your fight and just ensure that you're safe and not in harm's way, because that can be more important that you just make it home that time rather than you win the argument in the street but potentially lose your life, unfortunately, because some officer doesn't know the law and is on some kind of power trip or something like that. But I think that's everything we have to cover for this video here. Let me know what you thought about it. Let me know your thoughts on the entire situation as well. And if there are any other kind of videos that are out there that you'd like us to cover, to just explain and go through what your rights are and what is happening in those kind of videos, whether police related, criminal, civil, anything. This channel is just to explore all of that. So thank you for checking out this video, and I will see you in the next one.